Mail call today. There is a very big book in this box. It's a comic that I have owned before, 2 times actually. I sold both copies off before I even started this channel. So I've been on the hunt for a replacement for over a year now. I finally found one at auction, bid on it, and got it. So I'm going to open it up. I got this in a Comic Connect about a month ago. It's a fairly small box, not a beast, because this was not a very big order. There's 2 books in here. Fortunately, this is Comic Connect. They don't use peanuts.
Ah! I got peanuts everywhere.
They use bubble wrap. And the first book is XMen 101, First Appearance of Phoenix. This has been on my list of books I'd like to get for a long time. It's a great character. It's a great story. It is peak X-Men. There are a few peaks in that Claremont Byrne X-Men run, but this is definitely one of them. The whole grand story of X-Men, the Phoenix saga, is at the center of it. But that's just the appetizer for the big book. Yeah, here it is. X-Men 1. First appearance of Cyclops. First appearance of Beast, first appearance of Angel, first appearance of Iceman, first appearance of Jean Grey, first appearance of Xavier, first appearance of Magneto. You got this whole cast of characters that is still central to the series 60 years later. Take a good look at this one. So this is a mid-grade. It's a 4.5. This has this crease in the bottom right corner, a little bit of color break on the right side. There's a stain. There are a number of stains, actually, that I can see around the logo. Underneath the M, above the M, and above the left side of the X. And that's fair enough. This is a 4.5. That's to be expected. The eye appeal of the book is still great. It's a clean cover. The color strike is excellent. And as I said, I've owned 2 copies of this before. The first one, about a long time ago. I think it was the first comic that I ever bought at auction, and it seemed to me at the time to be a shockingly good deal. It was a 7.5 copy of X-Men #1, and that is how I learned about purple labels. It was a severely restored copy of the book. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know anything. I got it, and then I took a good long look at it and eventually realized something was kind of off about it. And then I looked it up and found out what restoration was. And once I knew, it was really obvious. The restoration on it was significant. It looked like the characters on the book just kind of popped above the paper. I don't know what they did, but it seemed like someone had just kind of glued reproductions on top of the paper to cover over who knows what. It was really a mess. It was like a collage. And as I came to know more about comic collecting and restoration and grading, I decided I didn't want it anymore, so I sold it off, and I was lucky to get a good price for it. I made the money back and then some for selling it, and I put that money into a lower grade, unrestored copy. So then I had that second copy, which was graded at 4.5, just like this one, for 10 or 12 years. Over the time that I owned it, I became aware that some books had brighter inks than others. And there's some variation in the color strike that comes off the printing press when these books were made. The ink tanks would deplete. Some of the books would just be brighter coming out of the printing process than others, but also those colors degrade over time when they're exposed to light, and in particular sunlight. And I had my copy displayed in an area that I felt had minimal sunlight exposure, but it was not no sunlight exposure. And when I looked closely at it and looked at pictures that I'd taken when I first got it, I realized that I had damaged the book, that the inks had faded due to LED and sunlight exposure over time. I had it in a CGC case. I thought, or rather I assumed, that putting it in CGC case meant you were protecting it from ultraviolet light. And that is not true at all. Well, it's a little bit true, a very little bit true. These cases do almost nothing to protect books from UV radiation. They do some amount, but very little. They're not really made to do that. And I let myself believe that they were protected when they really weren't. So once I realized that this copy of XMen 1 I had was faded, it bummed me out to look at it. It made me sad. And I decided that I wanted to get rid of it and start looking for one that didn't have that damage. So I sold it off, and even though it was faded a bit, the reds were slightly pinkish and the white background was a little bit tanned. And honestly, this one isn't. I'll put them side by side, and I may actually find out that the tanning on this copy is just as bad as the one that I sold. But it was still an XMen 1, faded or not. And I was able to get a good price for it and sell it for, again, more than I bought it for. And that was a year and a half ago in 2024, when we were not at the peak of 2021, 2022, but the prices were still pretty high. Since I sold it, prices have gone down a lot. And I don't honestly know why. I mean, we know X-Men's coming back in the MCU. We've got the X-Men 97 show, which aired on Disney Plus and was hugely popular. X-Men should be a really good investment right now, but this book has dropped on average across all grades about 20% in the last year and a half since I sold my copy. And I will say that even with the 15% buyer's premium that Comic Connect adds to sales, I paid 25% less than my net takeaway from selling a copy at the same grade a year and a half ago. This is not because I'm a genius. I didn't predict that the prices were going to go down that far. I hoped that I'd be able to get one for less than I sold it for. So getting this book gives me an opportunity to talk about probably the number one most frequent comment I get on my videos, particularly the videos where I talk about investment. And that comment is, comics are a bad investment. Prices are going down. To which I always say, yeah, they are. I mean, I've probably got over a dozen hours on this channel of me watching comic book auctions close. And the vast majority of the time, I watch high value key comics selling for less than they used to sell for. Prices are going down for comics. There are very few people coming into this hobby. Other hobbies like TCG, Pokemon are infinitely more popular than comic books right now. And this is bad news for people who invest in comics in the hopes of selling those comics and making profit. But as you may have picked up on by now, if you've watched my other videos, I like comics a lot. And however much it may be worth, this is still Hulk #1. It's still the first Uncle Scrooge comic. This is still X-Men 1. And yeah, this wall behind me is worth a whole lot less than it was a year ago. And it may go down more in another year. But it also means that for however many of us there are left, the books we love are that much more attainable. And I get to add this to the wall now. But before I do that, I'm going to put one of these on it. This is an Immacuslab made by Immaculate Comics. And it is just a laser cut rectangle of this particular kind of plastic that actually does protect books really well from UV radiation. They come like this. They come with these little stickies in the corner. You put the stickies on there, and then it sits really cleanly inside the well of the book. And you don't have to take my word for it. If you want hard data on whether or not these Immacuslabs actually work, and you should, you can go over to the Immaculate Comics YouTube channel, where Rick has done tests on all of the grading service cases, as well as his own Immacuslabs, and you can see how much each type of plastic does to shield the books. And I don't think Rick will mind. I'm going to put it up on screen right here so you can see the results of his tests. And you'll see that the CGC cases do shockingly little, as I said, to protect the books. Other cases do a little bit better. The Immacuslab does a really good job. It cuts a lot of the UV light out. And then, surprisingly, the PSA slabs are the best. That was unexpected to me. I hadn't heard that their cases were particularly great, but they are far and away superior to CGC. We all should really be putting our books in boxes or in dark rooms, never exposing them to sunlight. But if you want to display them, which I do as well, we should all have Immacuslabs on our books. I have seen and experienced myself the damage that light does to these books. If you look over a period of 10, 15, 20 years at a book that has any amount of light hitting it, it's going to fade. You can still see the book clearly. It still looks good. If anything, it actually is great for filming because it cuts the glare from these lights off. They are not super cheap. The reason they're not super cheap is because they are good quality. If you care about your books, if your books are valuable, you should spend a little bit more on these Immacuslabs. I'll put the link in the description so you can check it out. All right, I'm done talking about that. I got my Shortboxed up and going. People have been asking me if I sell comics. I do now sell them on Shortbox, Grails to Astonish. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching.